Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll, Charles Lutwidge Dodgson, is a classic of English literature, renowned for its whimsical characters, illogical narrative, and clever wordplay. It tells the story of a young girl named Alice who falls into a bizarre, fantastical world populated by anthropomorphic creatures and playing cards. Here's a detailed summary. 1. Down the rabbit hole. The story begins with a young girl named Alice sitting by a riverbank with her older sister, who is reading a rather dull book without pictures or conversations. Bored and drowsy, Alice suddenly spots a white rabbit in a waistcoat, muttering to himself about being late. Driven by curiosity, she follows him into a large rabbit hole. The hole turns out to be a deep well, and Alice falls for a very long time, passing shelves and cupboards on the way down. 2. The Hall of Doors and the Pool of Tears. Upon landing, Alice finds herself in a long hall with many locked doors. She discovers a tiny key that fits an even smaller door, through which she glimpses a beautiful garden but is too large to enter. On a nearby table, she finds a bottle labeled, "Drink Me," which causes her to shrink dramatically. She then eats a cake labeled, "Eat Me," causing her to grow back to enormous size. Frustrated and upset by her rapid size changes, she begins to weep, creating a large pool of tears. Shrinking once more due to a magical fan. She nearly drowns in her own tears. 3. The Caucus Race and a Long Tail. Alice encounters a variety of animals, including a mouse, a dodo, a lory, and an eaglet, all of whom were also caught in Alice's pool of tears. To dry themselves, the dodo proposes a caucus race, where everyone runs in a circle with no clear start or end, and everyone wins a prize. Afterwards, the mouse attempts to tell a tale, a pun on tale, which Alice misunderstands, much to his annoyance. 4. The White Rabbit's House and the Little Bill. The White Rabbit reappears, mistaking Alice for his maid, Mary Ann, and sending her to fetch his gloves and a fan from his house. Once inside, Alice drinks an unlabeled liquid and grows so large that she gets stuck, filling the entire house. The rabbit and his companions, including Pat the gardener and Bill the lizard, try to dislodge her by throwing pebbles, which turn into cakes upon entry, and sending Bill down the chimney. Alice eats one of the cakes, shrinks, and escapes the house. 5. Advice from a caterpillar. Alice wanders through a forest until she encounters a large blue caterpillar sitting on a mushroom, smoking a hookah. The caterpillar asks, "Who are you?" which leads to a philosophical discussion about Alice's fluctuating identity. The caterpillar advises her that one side of the mushroom will make her grow larger, and the other side will make her grow smaller. Alice experiments with the mushroom, eventually learning to control her size. 6. Pig and Pepper and the Cheshire Cat. Alice uses the mushroom to return to her normal size and comes upon the house of the Duchess. Inside, a chaotic scene unfolds. A cook throws dishes and uses an excessive amount of pepper, causing everyone, including a baby, to sneeze constantly. The Duchess is holding a screaming baby, and the grinning Cheshire Cat sits by the fire. The Duchess sings a lullaby about beating her baby when it sneezes, and eventually, the baby turns into a pig. Alice leaves with the pig and encounters the Cheshire Cat again, who points her towards the Mad Hatter's house. 7. A Mad Tea Party. Alice arrives at the Mad Hatter's tea party, perpetually stuck at 6 o'clock, tea time, due to the Hatter's quarrel with time. She joins the Mad Hatter, the March Hare, and the Dormouse, who are engaged in a nonsensical conversation filled with riddles without answers, personal insults, and irrelevant stories from the Dormouse. Frustrated by their rudeness and illogic, Alice eventually leaves the party. 8. The Queen's Croquet Ground. Alice finds herself in a garden where playing cards are painting white roses red. She soon encounters the imperious Queen of Hearts, the King of Hearts, and a retinue of playing cards, along with the White Rabbit. The Queen is known for her volatile temper and her frequent command, "Off with his head." Alice is invited, or rather, ordered, to play a game of croquet, where live flamingos are used as mallets, hedgehogs as balls, and card soldiers bend themselves into arches. The game is chaotic, and the Queen continues to order executions. The Cheshire Cat reappears, and his disembodied head causes a dispute between the Queen and her executioner. 9. The Mock Turtle's story. At the Queen's command, the Griffin, a mythical creature with the body of a lion and the head and wings of an eagle, takes Alice to meet the Mock Turtle. The Mock Turtle, a melancholic creature, laments his past life as a real turtle and tells Alice about his schooling under a master named Tortoise. He describes fanciful lessons like reeling and writhing and ambition, distraction, uglification, and derision. 10. The Lobster Quadrille. The Mock Turtle and the Griffin demonstrate the Lobster Quadrille, a bizarre dance involving throwing lobsters into the sea. They sing songs and recite poems, which are parodies of familiar verses, filled with puns and nonsense. 11. Who Stole the Tarts? Alice is summoned to a courtroom where the Knave of Hearts is on trial for stealing the Queen's tarts. The King of Hearts presides as judge, and the White Rabbit acts as herald. The jury consists of various creatures, including Bill the Lizard. The first witness is the Mad Hatter, whose testimony is utterly nonsensical. The cook is the next witness, but her evidence is equally useless. 12. Alice's evidence in waking up. Alice, who has gradually been growing back to her normal size throughout the trial, is called as the final witness. Her growing size causes a commotion. The king attempts to introduce a nonsensical rule, stating that all persons more than a mile high must leave the court, which Alice dismisses as absurd. When a ridiculous poem, supposedly proving the knave's guilt, is read, Alice loudly declares it to be nonsense. The Queen, enraged, cries, "Off with her head!" But Alice, now fully grown, declares, "Who cares for you? You're nothing but a pack of cards." At this defiant moment, the entire pack of cards flies up into the air and falls upon her. Alice wakes up, realizing she is lying on her sister's lap under the tree. The cards turn out to be falling leaves. Alice recounts her extraordinary dream to her sister, who then imagines Alice's future, cherishing the simple and loving heart of childhood, and reflecting on the many a strange tale she will tell in the years to come. Keeping alive the innocent adventures of Wonderland. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland is a timeless tale that explores themes of identity, authority, the arbitrary nature of rules, and the power of imagination, all wrapped in a delightful package of Victorian satire, wordplay, and pure, unadulterated nonsense. You can get this book from this blog. https://manhoodschool.blogspot.com